Now, the graph that we just created doesn't look very good. It shows the data that it must show, but there is much to be improved and make it look professional. First, we will start with a little bit of customization of the graph line itself. Let's change its width. I always prefer to make my graphs with a little wider lines. It makes a world of difference. To change the width, you need to supply two additional arguments for the plot function. The first is called LineWidth, and you need to supply it in single quotation marks. Notice here that the W also is with a capital letter. This is important, comma, and then you need to supply a value. This is called a value pair argument. These two are a pair, they go together. Now, if we run our code, you can see that our graph is now a bit wider, it's a bit thicker. And actually, just by doing this, it already looks a bit better. So, I always prefer to work with a width of 2, unless it seems necessary to go bigger, but it rarely does. You can also change the color of the graph if you want to make it red. Simply create another value pair argument. So color is the name of the argument and the value is again in quotation marks. Simply give it the color that you want. If we want to make it red, we simply need to say red. Let's run it and there we have it, a red graph. Now it's important to note a few things here. First, if you specify the color first right after the data, you don't have to use the color argument, you just need to supply the value. That way you can skip writing the color. So if I delete the color from here and delete the value, I can simply go in the beginning right after our data, our x and y's, and say red, just like that. Nothing else. It will still work the exact same way and we skip writing color. Second, you don't have to actually write the full name of the color. The colors available to you have shortcuts. You can represent them by single characters. For example, if we want the red color, we can simply use the R character. Like this, it's still red. Now, if we take a closer look at the plot function, if I press F1, you can see that here we have a lot of information about the function, but down here we have the colors, all available colors that we have. So we have yellow, magenta, cyan, red, green, blue, white and black. And each of these colors has its own character. If you want the black color, you have to use the K character. If you want blue, you use the B character. If you want green, you use the G character. It's that easy. So if we want to change to green, we simply use a G. If we want black, we use K. If we want blue, we use B. It's that easy. You can use additional symbols with the color argument to make your graph in a different style. For example, if you want your graph to be a dashed line, you can use two dashes, like this. And if I run it, we get our graph with a dashed line. We also have a couple of other stylings for our LineStyle. So you can see them under LineStyle right here. So you can see that we have solid line, which is by default. This is by default. We have the dashed line that I just showed you. We have dotted line, dash dotted line, and no line at all. But what is the point of that? So we can also have the dotted line or the dash dotted line. So we can say colon. We can run it and we have a dotted line. We can say dash dot and we have a dash dot line. And finally, we have the so-called markers. These markers will mark the spot where your x and y values are crossed. They show you the points that make up your line. If we use the plus sign after our color without our line arguments, so just a plus sign, we will get plus signs on each of the crossing points between our x and y values. But we can mix these three properties. We can mix the color, the markers and the line styling in one single argument. So if we still want our dash dotted line, we can say dash dot and we can have all of these together. So if I run this, as you can see, we get our dash dotted line. We also get plus signs for each of our crossing points, and we also get it in a blue color. We have many different markers that we can use, so we can see them right here. So we can have circles, plus sign, asterisks, points, and many others. If you don't want to have all of these properties in the same place, you can separate them. So we can say line style here, line style, and we can give it the value of dash and dot, like that. Now we can delete this from here. We can also say, now let's do it at the end, we can say marker, and we can specify what kind of marker we want, so we can delete it from here. And now if we run it, we get the same result, but it looks a bit more better. It's a bit more organized and clear what does each of our arguments do. And finally, we can also control the color of our markers. To do this, we need to use the marker edge color, and we need to give it a color. We have access to the same 8 colors that we have for our lines, so we can make our markers red and keep our line in blue. If we run it, you can see that now our line is in blue and our markers are in red.